You know, the people, the closest, easiest and first proof of a governance and not living under the best of conditions. Denied sound, inclusive representation, left to wallow in their struggles owing to the absence of governance, participation in political processes has become stressful and a responsibility that they don't love to ditch. Now, the streets are less interested in who emerges, what, dangerous as that may sound, but have long been abandoned, uncatered for, and left to survive on nothing. Now, the fury is palpable, the disinterest is loud, and the solutions are not far-fetched. Grassroots governance is dying in Nigeria and in some other parts of the continent, and it needs a revival. Welcome to VSA, M. Sulaiman. Well, over the weekend, local government chairmanship and ward councillorship elections were held in Lagos and Ogun states, and these are states in southwest of Nigeria. Now, both states, seem to be Nigeria's biggest economies in terms of money generated. Now, there was a low voter turnout in both states, with the majority of the people spoken to saying they know what the results will be, and there were never contests. Often it's always been a case of the ruling party in the state providing the local government leaders and ward councillors, ensuring the complete death of democracy or participative politics or the will of the people at that level. Elections are no longer a contest, sadly, but a process of selection, and this spells doom to Nigeria's democracy. With me in the studio is Olumide Thompson, chairmanship candidate, Iru Victoria Island Local Government, Lagos in southwest Nigeria, and joining me via Zoom is Jibril Sabo Kiana, former chairman, Kiana Local Government, Nasarawa State in northern Nigeria. Gentlemen, welcome to VSA. Let me quickly start here with Olumide. Olumide, you were a part of the election on Saturday. Now, how will you describe the process and events of the day?
Saturday, July 24th, was probably the absolute worst we could see in terms of what Nigeria had to offer. There were cases of voter buying, thumb printing by officials of the state, harassment of polling unit agents being chased away from polling unit boxes just so that they could do what they wanted to do. I mean, just like you said, it's no more an election. It's just a fabrication of votes. So it's Nigeria, and we're suffering for it as a country. Things definitely need to change.
Let me quickly go to Nigeria's capital, Abuja, where Jibril is standing. You heard him. He's that's a disappointed, politician who came out to see what he can do for his people, grassroots. And I'd spoken with you before on this, and you also told us how much of support you got while you were chairman. So tell us, listening to him, listening to Olumide, and some of the key things you also witnessed as chairman at that time. What are those things you would badly want to see again, to make people like Olumide, a young, vibrant politician in Nigeria, not be so distraught?
Honestly, I didn't expect that it could go that low, because speaking the way he spoke, the tone, the lack of words to express his disappointment, the state of disillusionment that even came to his face as he spoke, just reflected what we spoke about, why the local government election should be even treated much more importantly than the presidential election. Because the foundation of democracy rests with people being encouraged, being made hopeful, being made willing, wanting to change or bring a new government or consolidate a government that is in place and feel that they own the government. And continuously we keep saying that yes, there is the constitutional provision for state electoral commissions in the constitution, but to the moment I'm speaking to you, no state electoral commission has the infrastructure to conduct election in their states. They all still depend on the National Electoral Commission's infrastructure. They don't have the voters, they don't have the technical capacity, they don't have the manpower, they don't have the equipment, they don't have the ballot boxes, they don't have anything. They still just some government lackeys being put in the Secretariat of state electoral commissions to do the bidding of the state government. I can assure you that, like he was trying to say, what was even taking place outside in the open glare, it was just even the drama, was the lesser drama. I can assure you that the results of elections that would have been read had already been written, because I had a personal experience. When similar election was carried out when I wanted to run for the second term, the ward, my polling unit where I voted, I got 0, because they had already written the results before the elections were conducted. And they mistook my own polling unit for another one. Because so where they thought I voted, they gave me 9 votes. And where I actually was my polling unit, they gave me 0 as a candidate. So it's a sham, and it is already beginning to have effect even at the national elections. You can hear people say that once a government is in power, an election is coming up, they begin to be disillusioned, and what they use, the government power will always find a way of going about and consolidating its power. And it became apparent even the last week when the amendment to the electoral law was being contemplated in the National Assembly. You could see that the government power was refusing for putting effective provision in the INEC law to transmit results electronically, because they are already programming their mind what to do with election results on the day of election.
That's one. Sorry to cut you here. That's one aspect I also love us to talk about. Rejigging the Constitution. Also talking about the caliber of persons who represent the people at the National Assembly, and people wonder how is it that they can sit pretty well in the chamber and think of such, an anti-democratic, inclusion in the constitution of the country. I'll come back to you, Jibril Sabo Kiana. Listening to him, he said he also got a very bad experience back in the day when he contested in the early 2000s. The thing here is that for a man to be so given a result sheet to say you scored 0, as if you also didn't vote for yourself, because that's where he actually voted.
Yes.
So they just told him that, look, you also didn't trust yourself, you didn't have faith in yourself to have voted for someone else. So when we talk about voter turnout that is low, tell us, because when you were campaigning in your area, did you feel that it was going to come out this way? Were the people enthusiastic? Did you see a lot of people tell you that, look, Olumide Thompson, I'm going to come out, and ultimately the reverse was the case?
Well, yes, I think a lot of responsibility also lies with the people. There are 2 cadres of people, the white-collar folk and the blue-collar folk. What you tend to find, or what I tend to find, is that a lot of the white-collar folk have decided not to get involved in local government participation, and yet they complain the most about what's going on in Nigeria. So the blue-collar folk tend to be the ones that are most engaged in local government participations. Just before the elections, we took a poll asking people if they recognize whom their local government representatives were. And 8 out of 10 of the white-collar folk didn't know who their councillors or the local government chairman were. 8 out of 10, that's 80% of the population didn't understand who their local government representatives were, because they were no longer interested. So as a result of that, the standards of local government administration have dropped to a level where those who are involved are okay with it just as a result of their lack of exposure, not necessarily for any other thing. So if you expect more and say Nigeria X, Nigeria is this, it's not going to change because you're not involved in the level closest to the people. And just like my honorable chairman said, results is more or less staged at the way it is now. And for my own situation, for instance, my coalition agent was not allowed into the coalition office to count my votes. Because
wait a minute, your recognized and approved coalition agent wasn't given access.
Precisely, because what they did was, as opposed to taking it from the polling units to the coalition center, they just took it straight to the local government office, which is a non-neutral ground anyway. So on identification of my own agent as a coalition officer, he was refused entry into the office.
Let me bring in Jibril Sabokiana here. You know, listening to him, I saw the smile on your face. You are an experienced administrator. That's why we'll always get back to you here. What are the issues, you know, and the challenges identified to be the biggest concern of the people? But before that, you know, I'm so sorry I'm giving you a two-way here. Listening to him, if that aspect of the Electoral Act, which some were against, were to be in place, would this issue that Olumide just talked about, collation of results and, you know, computing of that result, would he have had that same problem if we had the electronic transmission of result?
No, it would have been minimized. It would have been minimized to the extent of credibility being brought into the process for the good of even whoever would emerge eventually, because you would have been comfortable that this is a true reflection of what would have happened. And if you would have gotten also a reflection of whether areas where you are not accepted and find a way of reconciling with them in the course of your being in government. So definitely, if that provision is included, it will encourage people to have reason to come out and vote.
So we're talking about some of the things here because everyone says politics is local, and it's expected, listening to him, it's expected that the people will be more interested in local council elections, bearing in mind that they know the active players. But from the poll he and his team conducted, it doesn't seem that way. It looks like some people that should know don't seem to know.
No, they do know. It is because they do know that they don't bother to be involved anymore. Because what is the essence? Like I said, the 1999 election that brought us in was one of the most inspiring elections that ever took place. The volume of campaign that went to it, the enthusiasm that was led by white-collar people, so to say, was so enriching that you would know that the country was ready to go into democratic involvement by all. And the results were so overwhelming in the manner that the person who lost would have been losing, who lost in my election, for instance, lost just by a few hundred votes. And it took him time to reconcile with himself because he really campaigned. You would see the enthusiasm in people. Today, you can bring everything, and a couple of those who will come and pick the transfer from campaign rallies. Nobody will come. The elites will not come because they know you're just wasting your time. The government has already made up its mind, and it's very dangerous for the country. And it is also what is permeating every aspect of our life. Nobody ever takes government as his business anymore. Government has become an amorphous definition, amorphous subject matter that people are beginning to be even ashamed to be associated with, or don't even bother if it exists. And it's not good for the country. It gives room for people now to rather return to banditry, to illegalities, to do things that are wrong, to surgery. Because I'm sure if he continues to give us the history of what will happen, he may soon begin to tell us about gunshots and people who are wounded by cutlasses and so on and so forth. Because that's what the game has turned into. People who want to come to office begin from time, prepare for facts that will escort him, that will escort every polling unit results, that will ensure that what they want takes place in any form that it can happen. And usually the government power, of course, has access to more funds, has access to the police and instructions that are usually passed down in the course of time, except for a few instances where it's overwhelming. The government will also have its way with this kind of thing. And I think it's dangerous for the country. And like he said, why would you blame the white collar people when in the first instance they had made all efforts to ensure that government, that they truly would wish to be represented by a particular person, is openly denied the opportunity to be voted for. They did it first time, second time, fourth time. Why would they come out? So if this disillusionment has already gone this far with white collar people, when it becomes apparent with the local people, it will be war from day one.
He said something. He said, "They know." He didn't think twice before he gave that answer. He said, "They know." So these people know what they're up to, and it looks like it's something that the people must wrestle, back from those who are hell-bent on taking development, because this is anti-development.
Yes.
What can people start doing? Because he also said something about monies which the states, ultimately have to wrestle, the system. Do the people also understand that the councils, have the financial powers if all else is in place?
I think they do, but I think it's also a function of how the system currently runs. Because, for instance, there's no local government autonomy. So the resources that are coming to the local government come from through the federal government and then through the states. So as a result of that, the local government is more or less is dictated by what happens at the states, even from a decision-making perspective. Whatever the state says you do is what you tend to do because they determine how much resources come to you. I'll give you an example. In Victoria Island, which is the heart of Lagos financial-wise, and possibly could be the heart of Nigeria, there's not one public toilet in Victoria Island. Not one. But that could also be as a result of people not understanding the responsibility of the local government, which also includes street trading. But people don't realize that this is what your local government is meant to do for you. It's not just meant to be an arm that functions on its own. It's meant to function autonomously and disperse services to the people as the closest arm of the government to the people. There's so many responsibilities. Even waste disposal, which is currently being handled by the state, is a local government function. But everything has been taken away from this local government and now being handled by the state. So people don't tend to realize how important the local government body is to the development of the country. Yes, people know what's happening, and over time, I've had things not go the way they planned it to go. But I think the more we tend to ignore, it's not going to get any better. People need to continue to take a part in local government politics. You need to know who is going to office, you need to know who is there, and you need to demand a lot more of them.
Well, Jibril Sabakiana, listening to him comes the question of, lack of autonomy, which is affecting the local governments from performing optimally in office. But this would seem as if it is something deliberately done by the other arm of government, that's the state. So how can, I know this may also go back to looking at the constitution of the country. How can this be reversed? Because I recall you had spoken about some key issues to the extent that Nigerians were amazed. Some Nigerians were shocked to see that you said, and I quote, that teachers are being paid from the resources of the local governments, but many Nigerians don't know that. So tell us, how can this be reversed, going by what he's just highlighted? For those watching us outside Nigeria, Victoria Island, why they call Lagos the economic capital of Nigeria is because of activities happening in Victoria Island. And he's just told us that this council lacks a whole lot, to the extent that not a single restroom, public toilet is found in Victoria Island.
Maybe first maybe it could be important for me to reiterate a few things. The responsibility of the local government council is as contained in Schedule 4 of the Constitution, and it includes the following: provision of all the road networks in the community, provision of toilets, markets, in any infrastructure that will enhance the economic activity of the people, provision of agricultural policy, provision of fertilizers, provision of cooperative society, and any form of engagement that will improve the daily life of the people, provision of water for the people to drink, provision of light, is contained in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Secondly, let me tell you what autonomy of local government means. The autonomy of local government means that every month, the funds that accrue to the local government will be budgeted for the following activities: all the relevant infrastructure development activities that would have been contained in their budget, which include activities like awarding contracts for local contractors, which means that every month the local government will be carrying out tender announcements for local people to generate interest in their activities to become contractors. So every month, a few of the contractors will be looking forward to getting contracts. Salaries would have been properly paid every market day that comes. At the end of the month, the activities, economic activities in the markets in different parts of the.
Well, so I think we having a. I think you're back. Go ahead, Dan. No, I think we seem to be having a glitch. We'll re-establish connection to Mr. Jibril Sabukiana. I understand you're back.
Okay. Are you free?
Yes, I'm with you.
Okay. So every month there will be a tender documentation, tender publicity for supply of drugs to the clinics. Every month there will be tender requirements for supply of chalk and school needs to schools. There will be laterite rehabilitation works. There will be cleaning of the gutters that will be given out to local people to do and be paid. There will be every activity going on to keep the life in an improving manner continuously, as if there were no government outside your local government area. That's the implication of autonomy of local government. As it were, what I also meant by it is allocation to the local governments that are being used to pay the salary of teachers, primary school education in the country, is that the total allocation at FAC meetings to local government is about 21 point something percent. This insider 21 point something percent that all the local government councils in the country are giving their monthly allocation. But every local government allocation is the balance of deductions made for the total salary of the teachers of that local government area. So if, for instance, in Kiana, if the teacher's salary is 10,000 naira, and the total allocation to Kiana local government for that month is 15,000 naira, they will remove 10,000 naira from that allocation first, and what will be balanced, the balance of 6,000 naira will be what will be sent for Kiana local government area. So it is the funds that is accruable to local government of the country that is responsible for sponsoring teachers and maintaining primary schools across the country. That was one of the reasons why we thought, when we were in Algon, that the sponsorship and funding for primary education across the country should be in a first charge arrangement. It should be one of the most critical things that must be funded without any break and without any hiccup, which means that the maintenance of primary schools and teachers and all that is needed must be given a special percentage to be a first charge point. By aggregating so far what has been paid so far over the past 20 or 30 years, what it amounts to, and let it be charged into the first charge of this kind of a fiscal arrangement. Otherwise, you think that they're allocating so much to the local government because you will see a figure that is not reflecting exactly what is being sent to the local government areas. So the totality of the government we find ourselves is that for so long as the local government is not giving its true autonomy, And this true autonomy cannot be subjected to a definition of federalism, where the status of the local government be subjected to the laws and dictums of a state governor. Because we must, to me, I keep saying, the local government system, the local government council, to me, reflects the true level at which we can use as our federating unit, because they are the only the council area that people feel organic to, and they are the ones that have evolved through time. Like I keep saying too, our states are mechanical. They were just created by the fiat of the military, but they were brought together by putting in place organic traditional institution areas that people own. And so if you allow the local government system to evolve as an autonomous entity with their laws and bylaws to guide their activities, you are wresting away most of the problems we are facing today in this country. And I'm glad that eventually the nation and the major stakeholders are beginning to realize that we must give back and rebrand the local government to the status where it's supposed to be.
You know, I'll come back to you so that you can expatiate more on argon. Nigerians and other Africans watching who would like to know what you meant by argon that you mentioned in your statement there. Let's come back to you, Olumide. But when we come back, we'll go on a break. When we'll come back, Olumide, we'll talk more about some of the key things he's raised, because he's touched on so many things to the extent that it will mean as if being a state governor is not actually fashionable if truly we want to do development for the people, to the extent that he's talked about roads, he's talked about almost beautiful infrastructure we see in councils, that these fall within the purview of the council elections, the local government administration. When we come back, we'll talk more on argon, talk more on Section 7 of the 1999 Constitution that speaks to the creation of local councils and more. Join us again. Well, it's our home stretch here on VSA, on News Central Television, looking at grassroots democracy in Nigeria. And we did say we're going to explore Section 7(1) of the Nigerian 1999 Constitution, which speaks to the creation of local councils. But critics and grassroots politics enthusiasts have also condemned the amount of power given to the state government over the local government. You've heard our guest say that much. But in any developed or developing country in the world, the local government is expected to be a critical part of its democracy. So sitting at the base of governance, it is the best elucidation of the type of governance in a nation. The people are closest to their grassroots leaders. And in the absence of connection to these leaders, there's a growing apathy to the democracy itself and the politics in general, and this spells danger for the future of elections and participation of people in electoral processes. Now, the issues and challenges bedeviling grassroots governance are multifaceted just by listening to our guests, and they concern the people, the government, and the laws that govern our society. We also have Jibril Sabu-Kiana here with us, and of course he's former chairman of Kiana Council Development, local government in Nasarawa State. in northern Nigeria. And of course, Olumide Thompson here with us in the studios in Lagos, someone who contested the chairmanship election in the last election in Lagos State. Quickly here, before that moment, we said we're coming to asking you some of the key things raised. Listening to Jibril, one wonders why a lot of people still want to be governors, but he moved further, letting people know that, look, this autonomy doesn't exist at the moment because a whole lot of activities that the government should be doing at the grassroots have been hijacked by the state. So are there things, the people don't know? Because the people are the very key here. You said something, some of those key things are already being done by some key individuals in the neighborhood, in the society, and these people were also employed by the state. Don't you see this as a bigger fight? Because you have these people to contend with who are more like employers or pseudo-employees, rather, of the state doing the activities or the job of the council development area. So when we talk about bringing it back to the people, constitutionally speaking, there must be lot of stumbling blocks in the way. How can you get this, out of way for the people?
I mean, the Honorable Chairman has said it all. There's a lot of responsibilities of the local government which have, in your words, have been hijacked. I think the people need to get involved. It's a numbers game. If you call it what it is, however much people are involved in disseminating funds or whatever, they're not as many as the people in the area. The people need to get involved and start demanding more of the local government. I mean, we've seen episodes in which Nigerians have asked for things to happen and it has happened. So people need to get more involved.
In getting more involved, sorry to cut you there, in getting more involved, do you think we need some form of sensitization and education of the, for the people?
I believe so. I believe so as well. People need to understand and know the responsibilities of the local government. Like Alhaji said, primary health care, primary education, waste disposal, homes for the destitute, public toilets, regulation of motor parks and street trading are all functions of the local government which are currently not being handled by the local government, most of it. I mean, with the way the world has been now in the post-COVID economy in the world, we tend to be more at home and more in our local governments. The local government should be able to administer things to us at home within our environments that leave us and make us stay within our environment without having to go far to look for those services and access to it. So the local government plays a huge part. People need to get involved. People know that local government is very important. They've just ignored because things haven't worked the way they wanted to work over the years. However, giving up is not the way to go. It's still a numbers game. You need to turn up and turn out and say and demand your rights of the local government.
Let me bring in Jibril here because it was he who said, Jibril Sabukiana, it was you who said everyone lives in a local government. Everyone is from a local government area, so to speak, in Nigeria. Back in the day, we saw local governments build health care centers, schools, and even construct roads. All of these seem gone. Jibril, you've been there. You just also reeled out some of these things to people. A lot of people will be amazed to see that even roads within the council development areas should be left for the councils to fix. Do the local councils get, let me even go back in time. How did you function then in your time? I think we can get a sense of where we're headed. Did you get enough money to run projects, or did you have to wait for the state governments to do some of these projects on your behalf?
You see, first of all, in government, there's never ever enough money for anything. What is expected is that what good to you per month, executing, using the budget and the programs you have already made for the period that is under review. And during my time, like I said even yesterday, we had full autonomy to ourselves. And so, like the state government, like the federal government, at every year we make our budgets. We had our legislative arm of government. I presented my budget to the legislative arm of government. They approved it, and I executed it for the 3 years. And in the course of that, and it's interesting to do that, we intervene in every aspect of our people's life without recourse to approval of the government at the state level or at the federal level.
Well, yeah, I think we can barely hear you. There's a freeze there, and we hope the connection to Jibril will be better. Pending when that happens, Olumide, what do you think should be done differently? Now we're coming back, looking at some of those, things that should be done. With the awareness, we're already done with talking about creating awareness, sensitizing the people so that they know the importance of the grassroots governance. We'll still come back to Jibril and talk about Algon, which he mentioned, and see how Algon has been able to help, because he's a founding member of Algon. What else should the people know? What else should the people be doing?
As long as we continue to ignore local government politics, we'll never get the Nigeria we want, the Nigeria that functions. The local government, grassroots, by definition, is closest to the people, fundamental. So this is the closest government to the people in terms of utilization of public resources for the good of the people. As long as we continue to ignore local government politics and say, why am I going to go out to vote? I don't know them. I'd rather stay home. I'm not going to get involved. Things are not going to function. We're not going to get the kind of Nigeria we want. So it's two ways. There needs to be a lot more awareness, sensitization, and education on what exactly the local government can do for you as opposed to the state government. When you begin to realize that local government has a lot more responsibility closest to you, the governor cannot know the road next to where you live and say this is an issue here. But your local government chairman will know as a result of your councillor, who is your councillor in that area. So they know what is happening on your streets, in your CDA. But your governor cannot know that. The minute you begin to demand more of these people, your representatives, things will begin to change. So that's the second aspect. One side from the government in terms of awareness, education. Second side from the people, demanding more and participating more.
Well, I'll get back to you. Let's quickly come back to Jibril. Sorry, apologies, Jibril, for that glitch in the connection. But you were explaining. But I want you to also put the perspective of Algon, which I did say will need more clarity on what Algon is and what Algon did back in the day in Nigeria's politics. Because we understand, is a founding member of Algon.
Yeah, just like I was also saying, like I said, there is never enough money for any government anywhere in the world, but you make do with the budget that is mentioned. But I also emphasize, because of the autonomy I had, we were able to intervene in our educational system, in our market. We built markets, we built roads, we built coverage, we rehabilitated primary healthcare centers. We sponsored students. We encouraged community development. In our experiment, to even make the system function better, we developed what you call ward development centers, where we built halls like offices, complexes in every ward. There are 10 wards in Kenya local government. We built development centers where the councillor is the head of the admin in that place, and the community in the ward elected their officials to run the affairs of the ward. So on weekly basis, the councillor is always there, and he only comes for his legislative duties and also maybe for joint meetings wherever it needed. So everybody was looking forward to be involved in one form or the other. Wants to be a responsible young man so that he can be invited to council meetings. He wants to be an elderly, a responsible lady or woman or mother or father so that when the community want to elect people into those development center ESCOs, your resume should stand for you. So if you give autonomy to the local government system, it's not an issue of financial autonomy. It's total autonomy to the local government system for people to live and introspect like they inherited from their ancestors. And we have already these traditions across the country. We only need not to secure it with the regulations that is contained in the Constitution. So returning this to this status is the beginning of the regrowth of a new Nigeria. It is in the course of this engagement that we local government chairmen elected in 1999 decided to form associations with local governments of Nigeria. It also gave us the opportunity and platform because it was encouraged to existence by Mr. President Olusegun Obasanjo and his able Vice President, Mr. Abubakar Atiku. And it gave us opportunity to rationalize some of the things that the interventions that the state governments were already then doing. Because up to the time we were in office, the states were responsible, there was a state council that was responsible for some of the activities and employment at local government areas. They're responsible for planning retreats, seminars, and so on. And so what usually happened then was that every day they get approvals or give approvals for seminars and workshops that had nothing to do with individual local government areas. So ALGON then, Association of Local Governments of Nigeria, then came up with an agreement that for every department of the local government council, there shall be just one seminar or workshop throughout the year, so that you don't bath the local government with unnecessary retreats or seminars and use the little funds available for capital expenditure for recurrent expenditure. So that was one of the thrust of the function of ALGON. And this really helped in the course of our 3 years in office to streamline the independence of local government areas to focus on their local activities rather than being dragged into state workshops, state activities, and so on and so forth. And in particular, too, in Nasarawa State then, we usually had monthly or bi-monthly meetings with the governor. He would ask you if you have any project that is bigger than your budget and you want to collaborate with it at your own will. We would then forward it and he would include it in his state budget. But it was not a joint program. So the thing was involved in Nasarawa State as far as I could remember. And somehow immediately after we left, it was truncated with all sorts of things. And today, every Nigerian is paying for the dissolution and dismemberment and strangulation of the local government system in every facet of it. And so until we go back to that institution, the way it was sort of thought to be in 1976, by 1976 reform, we're going to move forward, where the country will decay to the extent that even those living in in secure houses will not have opportunity to enter their gates or come out of it.
Quickly, since the connections seem to be stable, let me quickly throw this before I come back to the studios here with to Olumide. We're talking about, this is a tough time for Nigeria, talking about security problems. And for some experts like yourself, they think that, this wouldn't have been. Now, we're talking about community policing if we're talking about grassroots governance, and that's like another level of security closest to the grassroots too. So how can good grassroots governance help improve Nigeria's security challenge?
One of the steps we took when we were in office was to look at security problem in the country in a wholesome manner, because every local government borders one another, even across the states. And so if every local government is equipped and has the wherewithal to attack security system in every local government, can interface smoothly with the sister local government, whether within the state or outside or interstate, it will ease the capacity, to make the capacity to secure our communities much better. It was in that light that we resolved that one of the things that was lacking with the local government divisional police offices was mobility, the capacity for the police to move swiftly to where problems were and secure the peace of the people. And that was one of the reasons why the local government system, they jointly agreed to buy Prado jeeps for all the police offices in Nigeria, 774. We didn't buy it for ourselves. We bought it for the divisional police offices. Number two, we were going to install inter-local government, interstate network of communication gadgets and instrumentation that will allow the divisional police officers to interface within themselves and interstate with the police headquarters. It was these were the programs that Algon encouraged their existence, and this is what we're talking about. If it had been allowed to, evolve and take root, today we would have been discussing. There would have no way a banditry group or herdsmen would have been trying to cross the border in Ghana to Benue State, that they would have been reported ahead of time before they reached the border. So today, the level of decay of the local government system has dissolved. Has prevented the country from, growing its network of security alertness within local government areas, invariably the states, and so the borders are porous. During our time, there's nothing like unoccupied spaces, because we had forest officers who were functional, who report and inspect forestry activities on daily basis, on weekly basis. And the Department of Agriculture was alive to its duties. So it is because these functions are no longer being carried out. You have 10 times the employment level I had in 1999, and none of them goes to office because there's nothing to do. Even if they go to office, there's nothing for them to do. So it is the stability of the local government system, being truly autonomous by law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, meaning that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria must be, as a patriotic duty, by all of us, to be encouraged to be amended in the manner that local government can become the root or the federating unit of this country. To that extent, and until that time is done, we're going to continue to beat about the bush on how to secure this country, bring about development, bring about safety and social development in this country.
It really is amazing that Algon was able to do that back in the day, and he has also highlighted all of those things. And I think some of us saw them back in the day, the SUVs reaching boldly, courtesy Algon. We'll come back so that we can close with you, but let's start here with Olumide. Listening to him would really, just listen to both of you. Every African should be worried, and worried because this ultimately looks like a big hijack. And sadly, it will seem as if some of the people who should even help ensure that development in terms of education, in terms of infrastructure, economy, and even health, is not truncated, but now is dislocated, truncated, and we need to actually keep this, bring this back. So, in closing, now you've tried, and you haven't been able to go in. What's next for you and those who believed in you? Because you seem to be telling a different story, the same kind of story that Jibril is saying in accordance with the statutes. So what's next?
Well, first thing I'd like to say is all hope is not lost for Nigeria as a whole. I think once we can hold on to hope, there's still a chance. The issues that were on ground, which led to my coming out for chairman of Victoria Island, are still there. So in other words, the work still goes on for me. So in terms of that, my pursuit for the betterment of the people will still be my main focus going forward.
Do you live amongst the people? Are you a grassroots person? Because some of the key things we've highlighted, in the course of looking at this, issue, is that some people who are supposed to be administrators, grassroots administrators, don't live within such communities.
Well, this is true, and it's a lot of the case around most places where you go. But for me, I grew up in Victoria Island. I went to primary school in Victoria Island, Corona School. Went to King's College in Victoria Island. I live in Victoria Island. My kids also go to school in Victoria Island. So this is my hood, if we can use that word. I've been here and I'm still here. So I understand what goes on in this community. I've seen it change over the years to where we are today. So I know what it was, what it is now, and what it could be.
Then there shouldn't be a case of violence, because it should be all of us competing. I know you, you know me, and I'm saying I'm the best, and you say you're the best. And we say, okay, let's go out there, and everyone, tries, and a leader or someone emerges victorious. But there seems to be this, fight, as if everyone is a stranger to one another.
Because there's a lot of external forces involved in this, and there's a lot of power involved as well. Over time, people get so carried away with what they get as a result of being in government and forget why exactly they are there. So trying to take that thing away from them results and leads to all sorts of actions. So it's human nature, I assume and expect. But like you said, it should be looked more like inter-house sports. You're in a different house and so am I. But after that, we come together and we shake hands. But people forget to the gentlemanly aspect of it. So, but hopefully through orientation and awareness, I think things will get better with time. But we need to start from now.
Well, quickly, let's take this, if we can do this, it's a closing moment with you, Jibril Sabukiana, and you've heard him. Hope is not lost, and he wants to keep that going. Quickly, I want you to react to council administrators who don't live within their people, who don't live within the community. Quickly, how can that be fixed?
Should it be? I don't know whether living in a community should be an overriding factor. It is the mindset and the passion for knowing and identifying the needs of your people and resolving to help remedy the situation that should be paramount and evident in your history. Because it's possible to live within the community and be an irresponsible member of the community. And so wherever you live, your community involvement from wherever you are can continue to be reflected and recorded in the community in the course of time. So when you come to offer yourself for services on a political platform, people will always make reference, or even when you are not in this office, you were able to interface A, B, C, D in such kind of places, or intervene in such kind of occasions where they needed to repair bridges or repair boreholes or repair their wells or repair culverts and so on and so forth. You don't need to live in a community to be able to be involved in their daily.
Sorry, I need to come in here because I'm out of time. Quickly here, I'd like to say thanks for being such nice company. It's been an interesting conversation, honestly, having Olumide Thompson and Jibril Sabukiana here. Grassroots governance, no doubt, for the 18th time, is the biggest step to the next level in his absence. There aren't great promises ahead, sad, hard, but true. To our viewers out there, thanks for watching. We'll stay on this, so see you tomorrow.